Welcome back to the Soundation. This is Sway Token, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about breaking down this beat. We're going to play it real quick. I'm going to be adding some stuff, giving you my thought process behind it. I think it's a pretty energetic beat, especially when it comes to the drums. So I think we have to be careful when it comes to the sounds that we add. But with this idea that I have, that I'm going to tell you after I play it, I believe that it doesn't really matter whether something sounds busy or simple, due to just how people take in information, and information in this regard is basically sound. Alright, so what I mean by information and taking the sound, and like whether it be like something minimal or complex, is that, with this idea that, there's brain rot, ADHD, people multitasking, people just looking at different things at different times. For example, like YouTube shorts and IG reels and other type of short videos. To begin with, is that you'll have like 6 different videos on your phone screen with like 50 different audios, and you're honing in to every single one of them at the same time almost. Not quite, right? But you're spreading yourself thin to be able to focus at a larger scale and then bring it back together, right? Now, the senses you're using is like sight, and you're using your hearing. But the thing is that with that brain rot stuff is that nothing is correlated. Nothing even makes sense. So it's kind of harder to do it, but it's not even at the same time, right? You can have 2 different videos with no similar context playing, someone talking over those 2 videos, and you can pay attention to all of them, right? So that just shows how much we can pay attention to things, elements within something, I suppose. All right. So with that idea of brain rot, ADHD, and being able to multitask with our senses, it's just like, I believe that you don't have to make simple beats. You can have beats that are complex, and to be able to mix the complexity, or we're able to put the complexity together is through mixing, or at least having things that don't clash. All right. And but that, at least you might want to start with sounds and stuff that are not in the same frequency range, and maybe if they are, then you want them to be more in the background. So when you want them to be more in the background or be more wide or something like that, that's when you have to worry about width, stereo. And if you want things to have a little bit more warmth, that's when you have to worry about color. You know what I mean? So this sound right here is supposed to be in the background. I exported it. I made it from scratch. I have a video, or at least a stream, I think. I think I showed him making it from scratch. It doesn't really matter. It's a sound and pigments that I made. I did make a new FL Studios instance, but as we can hear, it's just like you hear how it's not too forward. It's still kind of loud, I think, but it gives space for other instruments to be added, which I'm going to add due to just how wide it is. And you have to be careful with how wide something is. So yeah. Trust me, like when I add a different sound, and especially when you're listening to the drums and stuff like that, you kind of hear how it's a little bit in the background. So that's why I kind of want to go for there. Busy drums, you kind of hear the drums happening. I think with these type of beats, it's just like you want to be able to manipulate the drums and their patterns. I guess the pockets and when they come in and stuff like that. I wouldn't be afraid to change the 808 patterns. That's what I like to do. These type of drums or beats. It's just because it's just like there's nothing else changing. Like the thing is, I don't have a MIDI to change here. right? Imagine if you just got waveforms and someone told you to make the drums. Well, how do you make things actually different? Yeah, you can manipulate the waveforms, but it's just like if they say, hey, you can't do that, you got to do it by drums, and you got to do the drums. So it's just like 808s really add keys. You change the key of the 808 to higher keys, lower keys. It's just like within the scale, it's basically another note within itself. And I think when you get a foundation of the drums, you can then decide what other sounds sound good within the beat. So like this, I started with this sound. I laid out the drums, and I had to work with the sound a little bit to try to get a melody out of it that the drums could lay on. I added some transitions and stuff like that. And the thing is about these transitions is that they are supposed to indicate obviously a change, and in some ways a change in energy, all right, or that something else is going to come in. Because remember, we're talking about brain rot, people having ADHD, not being able to pay attention. There's this rule of 3. Every 3 measures or bars or something like that, you want to change something up. Now this isn't every 3. This is happening right here. The reason why is that this is the intro, all right. This is actually like the first half of the chorus, and this is the second half of the chorus. Only reason why is because I'm taking out drums from the verse. All right, I'm transitioning into something that doesn't have that much energy, but it's going to introduce a different sound. Usually what that's going to happen is that I feel like it's going to confuse me. All right, it's kind of like a puzzle. Everything is a little bit different. Not everything's the same, especially when you want to actually change and evolve your arrangements and make them better. But some people can just slap down stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right? At the end of the day, when you realize that people are just slapping down stuff, it's just like they're just switching up drums, cutting drums, finding out when they want things to come in and stuff like that, and nothing crazy. But this build up to energy, I wanted to add an arpeggio, so I'm gonna add an arpeggio here, and yeah, let's listen through again. I forgot to add the turn on other stuff, but I don't know if I want to add the pad first or the arpeggio, to be honest, because I want to add an action pad. I like adding action pads from Xpand too. But then when you understand the idea of an action pad, it's just like you can start making your own action pads. But I'm just gonna go with sounds that are already made, so it doesn't take me that long. It's gonna take me a minute to make it's not gonna take me a minute to make the arpeggio. I'm gonna make it in Pigments, but I'm gonna put the pad in first actually. Thing is like I like, you put these sounds in and eventually you can take them away and have combinations of your patterns and stuff like that. The more combinations you have of sounds, the longer your beat can be, by the way. Just saying. Like if you have 8 sounds in your beat, you can make a pretty long beat, to be honest. Because that's when you start getting into like the combinations of sounds and then affecting the sounds in ways that can still, you can have like 2 or 3 sounds playing. You can modulate the sounds within like the theme of the beat, and then you can just mix it into some other sounds. You know what I mean? It's just like people don't do that for rap because the songs don't be that long. Especially, it doesn't even matter what I'm saying when it comes to industry trap beats. But it's just like going the extra mile might get you noticed. Has it got me noticed? No, because I actually don't go the extra mile. Those are just some good ideas. But hey, let's put those pads down. I'm burping. Excuse me. I like the pad layers too, so you might go to a pad layer or action pad. It's just something that'll add some energy. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want it here or right here, to be honest. So when I think about these sounds that I'm gonna add, I want to think forward as to like, okay, how am I gonna mix these sounds together? You know what I mean? And it's just like it'll be easier to mix them if they're not clashing within the same frequencies. You can do it by ear. I'm gonna change this sound, but that's why put it down an octave, just because I don't want to deal with just mixing so much of it. But what you can do, instead of thinking about it's going to be hard to mix it, it's just side chain, to be honest. So when this sound does come in, the pad will turn down. Another thing that I want to start doing is like the way we think is like in this length right here, like this right here, right? Now I could have you know, I could have added those type of notes, but it's just like I think people should think longer. All right, So what I'm gonna do is like I'm not gonna repeat this again for the next 16 bars. I'm gonna change the notes up. Feel me? Because right here, if anything, is my progression. There's nothing else progressing. Yes, I could change the 808s and how they play. Yeah, I could like put like an 808 right here and it be a different key and it could try to hint to a different switch up, but it's just like no, right? This pad is going to be the progression basically, in a way that makes sense, because this doesn't progress. This is a loop. It's going to do the same thing over and over. So it's all about how this sound is going to fit with the rest of, like with the other sound though, to be honest. Like when I talked about how the other sound sounds backward, this in the background, this sounds pretty forward. You know what I mean? It sounds a little bit too forward. Right? And it's like, for all intents and purposes, it's like I'll put this sound coming in, and then it's just like I'll put an arpeggio right here. I default into like sine wave arpeggios. I mean, things. Okay, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Don't lie to me. You know I own you. Own you. Why does it look so grayed out? But it's like what's gonna happen is I can already tell the note's gonna be ba. That's the note that we're gonna look for. D sharp. I don't know why this is in D. Maybe we should just switch this to D sharp. No, I mean, just because it's Figments, you want all these notes playing at the same time. It's all about timing when it comes to arpeggios. It's all about timing. Arpeggios are so powerful too, especially when adding energy. Because remember, I'm putting this after this transition, but there's less drums playing. This arpeggio is gonna try to retain some energy. You know what I mean? Now the scale sounds weird. This is what the scale sounds like. But that's not what it's actually going to sound like, because once you put the arpeggiator on, these notes are going to be plucking. So you have to think of it in terms of that it's going to be a pluck, especially if you're making the sound from scratch, if you're in a different type of VST. I don't like that. It's curious. I don't think this is gonna be the right note or a good note for it. It might. It's interesting. It's not good to explain mine. So now that I know that it's a pluck, right? I identify that because I made it an arpeggio, it's a pluck. What can I do to make this pluck interesting? All right. Now, what I've noticed when I look back into my beats is when I add too much of the pluck, it's going to just muddy out stuff in terms of maybe reverb or delay, especially when it comes to certain plugins. So maybe in this way, you kind of want to keep things simple. But first, we want to listen to it in relation to the rest of the beat. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to play this from the beginning again, because that's what happens. And it's going to come in very abruptly, like it doesn't sit on the beat. That's because the sound hasn't been curated to fit the mix. I'm changing up right now. Action pads maybe should change up a little bit more. I'm sorry, it's fine, it's whatever. Right. So this is important because because the ARP is coming in at a time in which technically there would be a repetition happening. We're not going to have the repetition happen, right? We're going to progress. That's why I said that this is a progression. This pad in particular is supposed to be a quote unquote chord progression earlier. So we're gonna go back and listen to how it makes sense. That's just what it has to happen, right? I know a lot of people don't do this, but it's just like these sounds. It's just, your mom doesn't do this. You feel me? So there you go. There we go. And then, so this is going to be, if anything, right here, the part that repeats, basically. You know what I'm saying? We're going to hear it when we just play through it again, I guess. I need to add some more arpeggios, but... I think, honestly, I just want to, like... put this an octave up. Nothing crazy, to be honest. Alright, I want to add this note right here. Here we go. And I think The 808 coming back in would be fine. But remember, this is the verse, so I kind of have to. I'm terrible when it comes to this part, I think. But I'm pretty sure if I were to do this again, it'd be fire. Maybe. I don't know. Like, it's like imagine the verse having more than the chorus, but who cares? Because it's all about. It's like. This is a build-up type of beat, maybe, right? Some beats are arranged in a way where it's just like A, B, 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 A, A, C, 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 or whatever crap like that. You know what I mean? But this is arranged in a way which I talked about where you just want to keep it interesting. You know what I mean? What's really important, which I believe is the drums. I still need to get better at arranging those. But yeah. Something like that. Now, what I would do from here is probably change what this sound is that we have for this, and then change the sound for this arpeggio because I didn't really do anything for it yet. But yeah, I guess to keep it somewhat simple, yet in a complex way with the sounds that we use, this is what I would do. And I'm not saying that it's perfect, but there you go.